Hello and welcome to another edition of the show. It's John Pollock here alongside Jimmy Corderas. We've got WWE's Hell in a Cell coming up this Sunday night from the very famed Staples Center. Jimmy, home to some huge WWE events in the past.
Yeah, everything from WrestleManias to SummerSlams.
One of the bloodiest main events of the last 15 years in the WWE.
Oh, JBL and Eddie Guerrero. Yeah, I was there. It was not pleasant, that's for sure.
A match that you will probably not see replicated this particular Sunday, at least when it comes to color.
I doubt it very much. Yes.
We've got a lot of interesting stuff on this particular show. At the top, it is the third and has been promoted as the final match involving Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. Pre-2012 matches do not exist in this historical look back.
Yeah, you have to preface that, yes. Of
course. Even not even their first Hell in a Cell match these two have had in a different world.
X-nay on the first one. Right?
Yes, we won't chat about Little Rock, Arkansas. It means very little in this particular discussion. But Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, going into this particular match, certainly the fact they wanted to do a Hell in a Cell match kind of necessitated doing it in October. Too quick after SummerSlam? What did you think?
You know what? At first I thought too quick after SummerSlam, but looking forward, it all depends on where both of these guys are going to go afterwards. Like, what's the plans for Brock Lesnar post Hell in a Cell? What are the plans for Undertaker? Obviously,
this guy's working house shows now. I'm thinking this guy's just going to come on the road full time after this particular event.
It would be incredible. I don't know if he's actually in the twilight. Obviously, he's in the twilight of his career. And is he thinking of winding it down and maybe WrestleMania being his swan song?
He's going for the Luthez Mae Young. Most generations, most decades that a man has competed in. I think he's just at the midway point.
Yeah, well, in that case, if there's anybody who can do it, the guy's a warrior. He can do it.
The streak could have maybe hit 50.
Hey, if worse comes to worse, he can become the new $6 million dead man.
Well, on this particular show, you got a nice smile there from our producer in charge.
I always check for
a seal of approval.
Seal of approval.
He didn't get it from me, so he had to go outside and check.
Yeah, but I don't want to pull a Costanza and leave on a high note.
What do you feel about Brock Lesnar in terms of? We'll talk about him first. Do you see him winning this particular match?
I think so, because I think the long-term plans for him signing that deal that he did just prior to WrestleMania necessitates him, winning this match going forward and continuing to be the beast. Mm-hmm. The Undertaker, at this point in his career, doesn't really need the win, so to speak. And, the seeds have been planted for him to probably, like I said earlier, have his final match possibly at WrestleMania this year. And maybe, if that's not his last match, at least just be a special attraction, maybe on a yearly basis.
The one argument I see towards The Undertaker winning this match depends upon where you are going with this character. Mm-hmm. We have seen the subtle and not so subtle hints of Undertaker going full heel. If they want to really emphasize and go completely in that direction, is this the match to do it? And therefore, he gets a win, whether it be an assist, whether we recreate the very first Hell in a Cell and Demon Kane comes out, rips the door off, because there is still that lingering issue of Brock Lesnar breaking the ankle of Kane, which has never been resolved as of yet. And I don't feel that was done just for no reason at all, that there's not going to be something. I'm not advocating for Kane and Lesnar to be your WrestleMania match, but Royal Rumble, maybe. I think that there is at least the interest, the speculation that you could go either way on this match of who actually wins.
Yeah, I don't think, again, as much as I said that Brock Lesnar benefits more from winning this match going forward and looking down the future, of course, in the world of professional wrestling, losses do not hurt if it's done in a correct fashion. Now, saying the word correct may be the incorrect word, if done in a way that is done to create more invested interest in what's going to happen in the future. And you're right. I don't think that incident with Kane was just a throwaway to get Kane off TV for a little while. there was a seed planted there, and maybe we see that seed start to take growth on Sunday.
And I don't believe that these two have this match on Sunday and we don't see either of them again until WrestleMania season. No. I think The Undertaker, if anything, it looks like he wants to work more dates. It would not surprise me at all if he's back for Survivor Series, especially considering the fact that Survivor Series, as of right now, looks to have no John Cena, probably no Randy Orton, and if Brock Lesnar is also off, I mean, that's a pretty scary-looking card on paper, which goes back to my original point. You can argue maybe this is too soon to do the third match. Take this match off of this show, and I think the appeal drops significantly, where Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns is possibly your main event on this show.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree with that.
So it's going to be an interesting match. I think that these two... terrific chemistry together. I think you're going to get a very good match in the ring, and I think the story opportunities, that's just as intriguing in terms of where each guy is going to be going after this particular match. John Cena is going to defend the U.S. title. It's an open challenge with the mystery opponent that is going to reveal itself on Sunday night. Everything leads us to believe that John Cena could be winding up for the immediate future on Sunday. He has not advertised for any shows after Sunday's show. That could always change, but typically, he's supposed to be off for all of the rest of October, November, and not back till after Christmas for those house shows. Who would you like to see fill in this spot as Jimmy plays fantasy booker?
Well, you look up and down the roster and you want to see who would be the next guy that could carry, because John Cena, with the United States Championship and this open challenge, has elevated the United States Championship tremendously. And I don't think there's any arguing that. The problem going forward is the next guy, whoever this happens to be, that's going to possibly defeat John Cena on Sunday to claim the United States Championship, has to be someone who can continue that elevation. And bringing someone up from NXT that a lot of people are, touting, I don't think is the answer. I think you have to look to the main roster. And it's a very slim pickings, in my opinion, on the main roster. And if there's somebody who could benefit from it, who has a following that could grow, it's Dean Ambrose for me.
I think that there's a big argument that rather than going outside for a surprise, rather than going to NXT, let's look at the talent we have on the main roster. Because there's a lot of it that are just in this middle of the card bubble. And I think you need to take one of those guys and you just say, yeah, this guy is not a top guy today, but we are going to go full out with this person. And by WrestleMania time, he's going to feel like a top guy. And of all those people in that bubble, Dean Ambrose to me feels like the one that we have to go with. Cesaro, I think, not to say he can't ever get to that level, but not now. They have cooled on him so much that I think it would be too much to expect that this guy beats Cena on Sunday and gets this run with the U.S. title. I think Dean Ambrose, he has nothing to do on this show at this point, which we'll get into with the injury to Randy Orton, and that would be the ideal pick. Yep. Anything short of Daniel Bryan being magically cleared, I think that Dean Ambrose is the most realistic pick in that particular
And plus you have to look at it from a standpoint that if this is the match that takes Cena away from the picture for 6-8 weeks, whatever the case may be, is Daniel Bryan the guy to be the guy to put him out, too?
That's true. You have to do something to explain his absence as well and have a program for Cena to come back with, theoretically. Right. Him just losing a match and disappearing, it's kind of a lost opportunity.
I have another name that could be a possibility that I know a lot of people will not like, but another person who isn't on this pay-per-view as of right now, you look at Sheamus.
Yeah.
Sheamus is a possibility, and he's a big, strong, hard-hitting dude who could probably take out Cena for 6 to 8 weeks, maybe,
Possible. I mean, there are options that you have on the table. Do you want to hear my awful idea for Hell in a Cell?
Absolutely.
I have worked overtime on this one, Jimmy. Okay. So we have... earlier in the night, Seth Rollins and Demon Kane for the title, where Demon Kane wins the title from Seth Rollins. And then later in the night, who answers the open challenge but Corporate Kane? And Corporate Kane leaves with the U.S. title, and we don't have the same person holding the title. We have two separate personalities holding the two biggest titles.
You know what? That is
an awful idea.
But it's so bad...
It's one that I could absolutely see being pitched.
And would probably work.
I don't know if it would work.
Well, maybe
Jimmy,
not. Okay,
but
I'm stretching there. I
could absolutely see them pitching this as some wacky idea out of this, and I think it would be dreadful. I don't believe that's happening.
It could be.
And then he comes back at the end of the pay-per-view to save The Undertaker and align himself. So we have 3 different storylines involving Glenn Jacobs, the MVP of the WWE.
The 3 faces of Kane.
If you want to look to the depth issues of talent, I think Kane represents a lot of the issues going on right now. This guy is plastered all over television, although he wasn't this past Monday, interestingly enough, which can take us to our WWE title match. Seth Rollins and the absent Kane from this past Monday. Cannot remember the last time that the guy going for the title was off the go-home show. Mm-hmm. There was nothing on Monday. Very strange occurrence with no Glenn Jacobs, but the match is on for Sunday. I think this feels like just a layup win for Seth Rollins, I hope, and we move on to our next program.
Yeah, the one thing I don't want to see happen, which a lot of people have mentioned to me that they'd like to see happen, and I'm not in this boat, is a Kane victory somehow and a Sheamus cash-in afterwards. That is just, you talked about, that's to me worse than your Corporate Kane winning the U.S. title and Demon Kane winning the...
Though again, the pitch being that who is the one guy fans will cheer Sheamus beating for the title? It's probably Kane.
Yeah.
I mean, oh boy. Let's just hope this is a pedigree finish and Rollins is on to his next challenger, which may be Roman Reigns, who takes on Bray Wyatt in the second Hell in a Cell match. Not always crazy about the 2 Hell in a Cell matches on one show. No. This feud, though, it has been going on for months. It's not like this Hell in a Cell is out of left field. It's pretty much been said this is the end of this feud as well, which is what I like about this show, is that there's 2 big feuds, which you have been told this is the climax of each feud if you buy this show or buy the network. Mm-hmm. Roman Reigns, does he just win this match and he moves on to the title picture? Is there a curveball thrown in? Does Bray Wyatt win? Does he surprise everybody?
This is a real conundrum, I think, because people are complaining about Bray Wyatt not winning one high-profile feud so far since his debut on the main roster, and I could sympathize with that, but at the same time, I do like Roman Reigns' progression since post-WrestleMania. I mean, I don't think the fans have given him much of a chance. I think they've already had their minds made up that regardless of how good this guy performs, whether it's on the microphone if he excels, whether it's in the ring if he excels, we're still not going to like him. And I just think you should give this guy a chance. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's going to be the second coming of Daniel Bryan, but at least give him the opportunity. And I think Roman Reigns wins this thing, does move on to an eventual program with the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins.
Does that happen next, or do you try and prolong that? Because it feels like everything has been said that this is the final hurdle for Roman Reigns to clear in Bray Wyatt. He beats him in Hell in a Cell. What's holding him back at that point from the title? Are you going to wait till the Royal Rumble and he's got to win that and we have to wait till WrestleMania for that title match? That's a lot of time between now and then.
It is a lot of time, but then again, if you're going to build up Roman Reigns as the chasing babyface, so to speak, is the money is always in the chase. When the babyface is holding the title, especially going into WrestleMania, usually when the babyface is holding the title at WrestleMania, it doesn't have the same luster as the babyface chasing the heel champion.
Well, I think
it is a long time, and the attention span of today's fans isn't quite what it used to be. So it is going to be challenging going forward, depending on if they want to go right away with Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, or just hold it off for a little bit. But then you have to figure out what do you do in the meantime, because obviously the Royal Rumble is the launching point for WrestleMania. So
where do you put this match on the card? This Hell in a Cell.
It's funny. There's the old argument, do you bookend the pay-per-view with 2 cell matches and to give them enough space, because they're going to be 2 totally different styles of matches. I think the Reigns-Wyatt one is going to be, balls to the wall, throw caution to the wind. These guys are going to pull out all the stops and just basically kill each other, whereas I think Taker and Brock Lesnar is going to be more of a psychology-based match, telling more of a story, going to be very physical but very methodical and well-paced. So, do you bookend them? You can't. I hope they don't put them back to back. That's for sure.
Oh, I think I don't think they would go that route either. I mean, we saw last year where they put Cena and Orton kind of right in the middle of the show and then had the buffer zone, and then they finished with Ambrose and Rollins. And they were two very different Hell in a Cell matches, which is kind of the challenge of doing two of these matches is making them different enough on the same show. Also, we've got Kevin Owens and Ryback, Charlotte against Nikki Bella, all part of this show. We are not going to get Dean Ambrose and Randy Orton against Luke Harper and Braun Strowman. Randy Orton suffered a separated shoulder. He's out for an indefinite period of time. So we've talked about Dean Ambrose in that sense. Harper and Strowman, we don't really know what's going to be happening with them on this show. It kind of just left this big question mark. What was interesting was that tag match was earmarked for the pre-show, which I found very odd placement. I mean, you know, you don't get too wrapped up about match order on a particular show, but there are certain guys that should not be pre-show guys. I just think it's a bad perception or a label to put on certain people. Randy Orton and Dean Ambrose being two of them.
Absolutely. In a world where perception is reality, especially in the world of professional wrestling, that's the only thing. And I understand the logic that they're trying to put behind this. And you put a high-profile match like that on the pre-show will, in theory, attract eyes and viewers to the pre-show, which is, I guess, why they selected that match for the pre-show. But at the same time, like you said, people's perception will be, well, look, you have Randy Orton, an 11-time champion. You have Dean Ambrose, who's really, you know, a future, you know, main eventer. And
he was about to go from going on last at the Hell in a Cell show last year to the pre-show match. I mean, I just think that people notice that stuff, and it's just... It just seemed like an odd choice.
The modern-day Paul Orndorff, going from WrestleMania 1 main event to the opening match at WrestleMania 2.
It's a tough one to overcome. Or King Kong Bundy from headlining Mania 2 to...
Dropping an elbow on a midget.
Yes. What a fall from grace.
Can you say midget? Little person.
I don't know the exact vernacular.
Yeah.
The Dudley Boys, do they win the tag titles on Sunday? Is it time to flip the titles? It seems like this is another feud that feels it's reaching its end point on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think it ends on Sunday. I think there's one more, probably DQ finish.
Oh, another one.
Another one.
I think there's going to be a big groan if that's yet another.
Which will lead to possibly a stipulation match, like a tables match, which is in the Dudley Boys' wheelhouse, so to speak. So I think there's one more after this, and whether it's or does it lead to a match at Survivor Series with Team Dudley versus Team New Day?
What are they going to call up Spike and reform some four-man Dudley stable?
Yeah, maybe they recruit a few guys with taped glasses or something like that.
It's funny that they were teasing, kind of doing this long, drawn-out spot where they had the New Day bring out the table that was all in its original packaging, and this idea that you were going to tease the table spot for some big climax, and then it seemed like a week or two after, they just kind of ditched that idea, and Xavier's been going through a table every week.
Yeah.
I feel we're getting the title switch on Sunday. I think that it's going to be title switch, and ultimately, I feel that by next spring, I see Bully and Bubba and Devon separating, and Bubba gets that singles run. I think he could really help a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
He can certainly do the role in a singles heel capacity, and I think a lot of guys would benefit from working with him.
Absolutely, and he proved he can do it as a singles competitor.
Best work of his career in TNA.
Yeah, in Parts Unknown.
Oh, yeah.
for 10 years, was it, or something like that? Anyway, in TNA, I thought he was, at that point, I thought he was possibly the best heel in the business.
I think many people would agree with you. I think there's a lot to be had with him. You can run out this Dudley's reunion. I don't think it's reached expiration yet. I think you can still go with it for now, but I think ultimately, I think it'd be very unfortunate if he doesn't get that singles run during this return. And finally, we've got a six-man tag, Jimmy. We've got Dolph Ziggler, Neville, and Cesaro taking on the team of Barrett, Sheamus, and Rusev, which also happened on Raw with a clean finish. And then the buildup was a graphic where the announcer said, we're going to do it again on Sunday. Yeah. This is our new pre-show match, which, if nothing else, it was a really good six-man on Monday. Yeah. You'll get a good match on the kickoff show.
Exactly. And I think with the injuries to Orton and the disappearance of Luke Harper, maybe he's in Parts Unknown.
Him and Kane, they just disappeared.
I don't know. It's that weird vortex that appears every once in a while, or disappears once in a while. But it'll be a good match. It'll be fun. I'm I just feel bad for guys like Cesaro because
this match exemplifies what you and I were talking about,
Yes.
about this giant mid-card where everyone is in the same place and you don't feel they're progressing, they're not falling further, they're just in this middle of the card role. And I think that's how the audience largely takes to these 6.
Right.
They're all in that same place.
maybe the heel side forms a new faction called Team Eurasia.
Jimmy Corderas, folks, here all week, and he is going to be watching Hell in a Cell Sunday night on the WWE Network. We'll be back next week. We'll run through the highlights, lowlights, and what's coming out of Hell in a Cell. Also tune into Live Audio Wrestling Sunday night, midnight Eastern time. We're going to run through Hell in a Cell on that particular show, and we are scheduled to be joined by Bubba Ray Dudley. Maybe we'll go straight to the source. We'll see if he's recruiting family members for Survivor Series. So that's all coming up. You can listen at liveaudiowrestling.com. Follow him at Jimmy Corderas on Twitter. I am John Pollock, and we'll speak to you next week after Hell in a Cell.
Try the veal.